Good morning, students. Welcome to the lecture on linguistics. Linguistics is the scientific study of systems and principles underlying human languages. So, every human language existing in the face of Earth has got systems and principles by which they work. So, they function in accordance to these systems and principles, and linguistics is the scientific study of systems and principles underlying human language or governing human language. The word linguistics comes from the combination of words lingua meaning tongue and istics meaning relating to the knowledge or science. So lingua means tongue and istics means relating to knowledge of science. Now, what is linguistic analysis? A linguist data is samples of language which we may call corpus. ഒരു സയൻറ്റിസ്റ്റിനെ സംബന്ധിച്ചിടത്തോളം സയൻറ്റിസ്റ്റിൻ്റെ ഡേറ്റ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് അദ്ദേഹം ടാബുലേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് ഒബ്സർവേഷൻസ് ആണ്. ഒരു ലിംഗ്വിസ്റ്റിനെ സംബന്ധിച്ചിടത്തോളം ലിംഗ്വിസ്റ്റിൻ്റെ ഡേറ്റ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് സാമ്പിൾസ് ഓഫ് ലാംഗ്വേജ് ആണ്. ലാംഗ്വേജ് സാമ്പിൾസ് ബിക്കംസ് the data of a linguist. A linguist analyzes the data on the level of speech sounds, words, sentences, and meaningful utterances. So that is how the hierarchy goes. First, a linguist will analyze an utterance on the level of speech sounds like p, t, k, etc. And then he will analyze the data on the level of words and the structure of words. Then he will analyze the data on the level of the structure of sentences, how words combine together to form sentences, and how those sentences combine together to form meaningful utterances, how it becomes acceptable both grammatically as well as lexically. So this is the job of a linguist, to analyze data on the level of speech sounds, words, sentences, and meaningful utterances. So any sound theory of language, that is any good theory, any sound theory is not referring to speech sounds. Any good theory of language should include all these components of language. It should include the speech sounds, it should include the study of words, it should include the study of sentences, and it should include the study of meaningful utterances. Now let's look at the diagram. So this is the basic diagram that a linguist follows. Now we look at it. On the topmost part is phonetics. On the topmost part is phonetics. And what is phonetics? Phonetics is the study of production, articulation, transmission, and reception of speech sounds. How are speech sounds produced? So you have two mechanisms for producing speech sounds. One is pulmonic ingressive airstream mechanism and the other is pulmonic aggressive airstream mechanism. Not aggressive, aggressive, E-G-G-R-E-S-S-I-V-E. Pulmonic ingressive airstream mechanism and pulmonic aggressive airstream mechanism. So in the production of speech sounds, lungs are involved. That is why the airstream mechanism is called pulmonic, because of the involvement of lungs. Pulmonary means related to lungs. Pulmonic aggressive airstream mechanism means you are drawing out, you are pushing out air while speaking. Whenever you are pushing out a stream of air while speaking, it is an aggressive airstream mechanism. When you are speaking English, you are using aggressive airstream mechanism. In Malayalam also, you are pushing out air when you speak. That is an aggressive airstream mechanism. But in pulmonic ingressive airstream mechanism, you are taking in the air. In pulmonic ingressive airstream mechanism, you are taking in a puff of air. That happens in German, with the language German. Germans use ingressive airstream mechanism, where they take in a whole lot of air. That is why it is very difficult to learn German. So the phonetics is the study of production, articulation, how a certain sentence is uttered, articulation, transmission, how it is being transmitted, transmission and reception of speech sounds, how it is heard by the speaker. So production of speech sounds is there, study of production, articulation. Articulation of speech sounds means acoustic phonetics. You are speaking about articulation and transmission, acoustic, through what medium is the language transmitted, which is acoustic phonetics. Then you have the reception of speech sounds. Reception of speech sound refers to auditory phonetics, how you hear a speech sound. That is reception of speech sound. So in the primary level, you have phonetics. So in phonetics, you learn about the production, articulation and reception of speech sounds, like p, b, t, k, how they are produced, how they are transmitted, how they are received. The next level of linguistic analysis is called phonology. Now let's take a look at what phonology is. Phonology is the study of selection and organization of speech sounds. How speech sounds are selected and organized to form a particular utterance. So phonology is the selection and organization of speech sounds. How the sounds p, a, t combine together to form pat. So there it deals with the selection and organization of speech sounds. How can speech sounds be classified based on the way in which it is uttered? So the study of selection, organization of speech sound is phonology. Then comes morphology. Now the next major thing is morphology. What do you mean by morphology? Morphos means form, right? Morpho means form. And what do you mean by morphology? Morphology is the study of internal organization of words. How is a word formed? Out of basic grammatical structures, how is a word formed? So that is all about morphology. It is the study of internal organization of words. For example, in the past tense form walked, you have two morphemes, walk and ed. Ed is a bound morpheme which makes walk, which changes walk into a past tense. So there you study about the internal organization, how the free morpheme is attached to the bound morpheme and how it creates a new meaning. So it deals with the internal organization of words, how the words are arranged together, or how the internal components of words, morphemes, are arranged together. That is the study called, that is what is called morphology. Now moving on to syntax. Syntax deals with the organization of words into phrases and sentences. So the next in level is syntax. There you from morpheme, from the level of morpheme, you move on to organizing words to form sentences. That is syntax or word order. So syntax deals with the organization of words to form phrases and sentences. So for example, you always follow a sentence structure in syntax. it is either SVO, subject verb object, or SVC, subject verb complement, or in the case of phrases it can be just subject and verb, like bird fly or birds fly. So in birds fly there is a subject, birds, and fly, which is the verb. There is no direct object there. It is a phrase. So syntax deals with the organization of words into phrases and sentences. In the sentence, she is beautiful, she is the subject, is the verb, beautiful is the complement. There you have SVC structure. In the subject, in the sentence structure, Rama killed Ravana. Rama is the subject, killed is the verb, and Ravana is the object. There you have SVO structure. So syntax deals with the organization of words into phrases and sentences. Then comes the part called meaning. Now I have shown meaning too. No, it's difficult to move the pointer to that side since I'm using a phone, but then again. So when we move on to meaning, semantics is the study of meaning formation, how words or phrases combine together to form meaningful utterances or meaningful sentences. So there you are learning about the formation of meanings by using words, phrases and sentences. Now the last and final part, which I have not mentioned in the diagram but which is of importance in the usage aspect of language, is pragmatics. Pragmatics is the study of practical usage of language, how language is used in ordinary utterances or in practical cases, in real life scenarios, how language is used. So that is pragmatics. It is a study of practical usage of language. Now moving on to the various branches of linguistics. Now don't be afraid because you saw this big table and it contains a whole lot of ideas and you need to learn them, but it's very easy to learn them. I'll give you audio visual aids to do the same. So don't worry, don't fret. We'll move on to the branches of linguistics. So the first major branch of linguistics is called sociolinguistics. Sociolinguistics is the study of relationship between language and society. In sociolinguistics, you learn the individual utterances of people belonging to different classes in society. സൊസൈറ്റിയിലെ പല ക്ലാസ്സസിലുള്ളവർ എങ്ങനെയാണ് ലാംഗ്വേജ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് എന്നാണ് സോഷ്യോ ലിംഗ്വിസ്റ്റിക്സിൽ നമ്മൾ പഠിക്കുന്നത്. ഇസ് ദാറ്റ് ക്ലിയർ? നൗ ഇൻ സോഷ്യോ ലിംഗ്വിസ്റ്റിക്സ് you might be familiar with the RP, which is spoken by educated speakers of Oxford and Cambridge. So what is considered to be received pronunciation or standard pronunciation in English is RP. English RP is the received pronunciation and it is spoken by the educated speakers of Oxford and Cambridge, which is considered to be of a higher rank than the ordinary dialects that exist in English. Like they have Irish dialect, they have Australian English, they have American English, they have Cockney dialect, which was spoken by the famous flower girl in George Bernard Shaw's Pygmalion, Eliza Doolittle. Eliza Doolittle speaks Cockney dialect. So it shows the social ranking of a person. In sociolinguistics, we attempt to learn how people belonging to different classes of the society or different stratas of the society use language. So there we are learning the correlation between social class and language. Now I'll give you an example, and this is taken from George Bernard Shaw's Pygmalion. You can listen to these clips now. Now, you just listened to Eliza speaking. Once again, so this is the Eliza that Professor Higgins uh, took from the streets, and he brings her up to his house and he tries to teach her the received pronunciation. And he has waged a bet with his friend that uh, he has the capability to change an ordinary flower girl like Eliza into a socialite. And he will accomplish his task by teaching her the fine nuances of language. So this is the kind of language that she used to utter. The Rhine in spine is what she said. Now, we'll move on to when Eliza becomes, or when slowly Eliza learns the language, and slowly Eliza climbs the social ladder. Now, this is not something that happens in one day or two. She has to go through a daily torture, and she has to read this book, this particular sentence from that book over and over again, as if she is reading the Bible. And finally, she is able to accomplish the task. And we shall hear her voice again.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain. The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
So, did you hear that? She was in the earlier utterance too, she was trying to utter the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plains. But in the beginning, she is not able to speak it because she is speaking Cockney dialect, which is spoken by the ordinary working class people of Britain. The Rhine in Spine is uh, reigns plainly in the mind, and you're not even able to make out what she is saying. But in the second clip, as if out of a sudden realization, but this does not happen in 1 day's time or 2 days' time. She is, she has to go through a lot of torture from Professor Higgins. He makes her speak like this, and finally, she is able to sing a mellifluous song out of it. So this is her change. So this also this particular instance in the movie My Fair Lady shows the change of the Cockney girl Eliza Doolittle into a woman belonging to the upper class. So she suddenly becomes a woman who is presentable, who can be presented before the elites, and they won't mistake her, or they won't consider her to be a poor flower girl. For them, this girl is a very highly sophisticated lady. She has become a highly sophisticated lady. So towards the end of the film, she becomes a highly sophisticated lady. So with the changing of social class, there is a change in language too. So this happens in ordinary people too. For example, a person who lives in a slum, if he is given proper education, and if he is given the all the aids that are given to a middle class student or to an upper class student, then he too will be able to pick up language, and he slowly becomes a social climber, and then he will start speaking in the newly discovered language. He won't go back to his mother tongue. Only a few people would do that. So it shows that he has climbed up the social ladder. So sociolinguistics is the study of the relationship between language and society. How society shapes language, how the company you keeps, or how belonging to a higher class would make you speak better English than a person belonging to a lower class. Though this is a very a biased comment, this is a study of the relationship between language and society. Now moving on to the second branch of linguistics, which is sociolinguistics. Sociolinguistics is the study of interrelation between linguistic factors and psychological aspects. So, the study of interrelations between linguistic factors and psychological aspects is called psycholinguistics. So, is that clear? It is the study of interrelation between linguistic factors and psychological aspects. So, suppose if a person goes through an intense trauma, he can either become highly talkative or he can go silent. This happens because there is a link between the psychological aspect, the psyche, and the language. So often, people who went through post traumatic stress disorder would find it difficult to utter sentences in a coherent manner. What they try to communicate would be an incoherent babble. You have examples of it in literature. For example, in Harold Pinter's birthday party, Stanley gives a long monologue towards the end, and even McCain and everyone gives out long monologues, and it shows the tension that is there within Stanley. Similarly, in Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye, towards the end, Pecola too utters incoherent babble. That is because of the intense trauma that she had to face from the hands of her father. Her father raped her, and out of guilt, not just guilt, out of shame, she starts speaking in an incoherent way. So, trauma can deeply affect the mind, and it can deeply affect the language that we speak. So, the study of interrelation between linguistic aspects and psychological aspects is called psycholinguistics. Now, I've given you a picture to denote psycholinguistics. See here, there is a picture of a person who goes through intense trauma. He can either be very happy, he can be very talkative, he can talk his heart out, or he can go turn into a recluse. He can be sad, he can stop talking altogether. So that shows the psychological dimension of language. When you are in grief, either you won't be able to talk at all, or you would be talking in a very incoherent manner. This has been studied, and that is why psycholinguistics is of greater importance when we are dealing with traumatized people. Now moving on to the third branch of linguistics, which is known as neurolinguistics. Neurolinguistics is the study of relationship between language and brain. How certain brain functions may affect language. How the production of a certain hormone, or the production of a seizure can affect brain, and it can affect our ability to speak. That is why when a person has a stroke, he won't be able to speak, he won't be able to move his lips, partly because he has gone paralyzed, and partly because it affects some area of his brain which is associated with speech. നാവ് കുഴഞ്ഞു പോകുന്നതൊക്കെ അതുകൊണ്ടാണ്. So, neurolinguistics is the study of relationship between language and brain. Now, I would like to give an anecdote about a person who survived the greatest tragedy of all. He lived after the tragedy to tell the tale because he was able to speak. Now, we will move on to that person. Now, this was the person that I was speaking about. His name is Phineas P. Gage. If you have seen, believe it or not, you might have seen him. His name is Phineas P. Gage, and he was a foreman, and he was in charge of a construction crew blasting away rocks to lay a new stretch of railway line. As Mr. Gage pushed an iron tampering rod into the blasting hole in a rock, some gunpowder accidentally exploded and sent the 3.5 foot long tamping rod through his upper left cheek out from the top of his forehead. So, from his cheek, the rod exploded and went through his forehead. See, this is what had happened to him. And this is the same rod that entered his forehead. He lost his eyesight, as you can see in this picture. Mr. Gage suffered the type of injury from which it was assumed no one would recover. However, a month later, he was up and about with no apparent damage in his sense of speech, which means that he was able to speak. He was like a walking dead. He was able to speak. The only thing was that he was not able to see with this eye because his eye got completely destroyed. But see, the iron rod went straight through his brain, but it didn't affect his speech because it went through his forehead. And the area of brain which is related with speech is Broca's area. And the Broca's area is not situated up in the front, it is situated in the middle. That might be the reason why he might have escaped and that he was able to speak. Because Broca's area is somewhere here in the middle part of the brain. Had it been affected, he won't be able to speak. The same is the case with people who go through severe accident. If their Broca's area is affected or if their Broca's area is damaged, it would crucially affect their ability to speak. So, neurolinguistics deals with nerves, brain, and how brain is related with language, how certain areas of brain is related with the with language production, with memory, retention, etc. Now, moving on to the fourth branch of linguistic, which is anthropological linguistics. Now, anthropological linguistics is the study of relationship between language and culture. How culture shapes our language. How belonging to a certain culture would shape our language. That is the main concern of anthropological linguistics. Now, what do you mean by anthropology? Anthropology means Naravamsha Shastram, right? Anthropological linguistics means anthropos means man. So, when we are learning about the cultures of man, we come across different varieties of cultures. And each of these cultures have their unique set of utterances. For example, kinship terms for that matter. Kinship terms nu vechina endha KINSHIP. King alla KINSHIP aanu. Kinship terms nu vechina endha nammala bendhutvthine kurikkunna padangal. So, I'll explain it with the help of two pictures. See, this is the image of the famous sitcom Modern Family. So in Modern Family, you can see that this man has a stepmother, and this is his stepmother, this is his father. Or I think that I'm not sure with the storyline or anything. I think that this is his stepmother, this is his father, or is it his wife, father? I'm not sure. And this is his half brother born to this woman. This is his wife. This is his wife's brother, and this is his wife's husband. So they are a gay couple and they have a child. And these two are their kids. These 2 or 3, I'm not sure, are their kids. So see the kind of family kinship relations that they have. In their vocabulary, they have terms like stepfather, stepmother, half brother, half sister, which is not there in our culture, which is not prominent in our culture, because in some way or the other it is all suppressed. So in our culture, we talk about other people. Basically, we have nana nanis, dada dadis, or amumma pupen, auntie, aunt, uncle, maternal aunt, paternal aunt. If you take a Jhumpa Lahiri novel, for example, you have references to maternal aunt, paternal aunt, because you have an aunt on your father's side, you have an aunt on your mother's side, you have you have a grandmother, you have an achamma, you have an amamma, you have you know, ammavan, you have an ammachan. So you have all these names denoting kinships, right? These are all kinship terms. So I've given, as contrast to the modern family given here, I've given the picture of not hum saath saath hai, this is a picture from Hum Aapke Hai Kaun. So this is a family drama, classic family drama, and you can see all the chacha chachis, and there is no nana nanis here, but sasur sasurji and all those people. In Hindi, you have a whole lot of kinship terms. In Malayalam too, there are. But so that indicates that in Indian culture we have a whole lot of kinship terms. We have an extended family. We always, whenever there is a marriage function or whenever there is a function at home, we always invite all our relatives. We are in close touch with our relatives. We have first cousins, second cousins, maternal cousins, paternal cousins. So we have a whole bunch of relatives, which but in Western life they don't have that much relatives. They are only in close contact with their family members, closest members of the family. So with culture, the kinship terms also change. Likewise, the names of the utensils might change, names of the food that we eat might change. So anthropological linguistics is the study of relationship between language and culture, how culture shapes language. This can be seen reflected in food culture too. The food that we use in Indian cuisine is now included in Oxford English Dictionary. You have curry, you have chutney, you have even in Salman Rushdie's work, he calls his English as chutnification of English. Chutnification, he calls it thus, because in India we use chutneys a lot. So that is there. So the relationship between language and culture is called anthropological linguistics. I hope that you know what anthropological linguistics is. And now we will move on to historical linguistics. Historical linguistics is the scientific study of changes that occur in language over time. So over time, a language might change, or over time there will be changes in language. So that is called a historical linguistics, or it is also called diachronic. Chronos means time, diachronic means from the beginning of time. Okay, the scientific study of changes that occur in language. Diachronic means you are learning the changes that occur in language over a period of time. Not from the beginning of time, won't be correct, over a period of time. And synchronic approach is the study of language at a point of time. So if you are learning English from the Old English period, you are learning the nuances of Old English period, then you move on to the Victorian English and the kind of usages that they had, the kind of usages that Jane Austen used, or the Bronte sisters used, Charles Dickens used. And later when you look at the modern English, the kind of language that you use for texting, it is entirely different, right? You have a new word coming up each day. So if you are learning English from the Old English period through the Middle English period to the Modern English period, then that is a diachronic approach to the study of language. On the other hand, if you are learning a language as it exists now, for example, at the time of COVID, many new words came into currency, like COVIDiot. Who is the COVIDiot? A person who goes out and does not maintain social distancing, does not wear a mask or use sanitizers, is called a COVIDiot. That term came into being recently. And so it is the study of synchronic linguistics is the study of language at a given point of time. ഇപ്പോൾ language exist ചെയ്യുന്ന രീതിയിൽ പഠിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ it is synchronic linguistics. So if you are taking a note of all the new coinages that had happened post COVID, then that is a synchronic approach. You are learning language as it exists now. But if you are looking at the kind of language which was used at the time of Spanish flu, at the time of the Great Plague, then you are, and then at the time of COVID, then you are using a diachronic approach. Is that clear? പഴയ കാലത്ത് നിന്നും മിഡിൽ ഏജസിലോട്ട് പിന്നെ മോഡേൺ ഏജസിലോട്ട് വന്നാൽ അത് diachronic approach. If you are learning language as it exists now, then it is a synchronic approach. Now I have given pictures to denote the same. See, here you have Chaucer riding his horse going to Canterbury. He is using Old English. Now if possible you can listen to his Old English.
That April with his shorest sota, the drucht of March had pierced to the rota, and bothered every vein in swish liquor, of which virtue engendered is the floor.
Now what you just now is Chaucer's what you heard just now is Old English, Chaucer's Old English, and this is the beginning lines of Prologue to Canterbury Tales. And now you're going to hear a conversation taken from a Jane Austen novel. You can guess the novel.
Might I ask why with so little endeavour and civility I must repulse?
And I might as well inquire why, with so evident a design of insulting me, you chose to tell me that you like me against your better judgment.
No, believe me,
If I was uncivil, then that is some excuse, but I have other reasons. You know I have.
What reasons?
But if anything might tempt me to accept the man who has ruined, perhaps forever, the happiness of a most beloved sister. You deny it, Mr. Darcy. That you separated the young couple who loved each other, exposing your friend to the censure of the world's good caprice, and my sister to its derision for disappointed hopes, and involving them both in misery of the acutest
I
kind.
do not deny it.
So you just listen to the spiteful conversation between two lovers. So they are lovers, but they are angry at each other. They are at each other's necks. So this again, when you compare with the Old English, I hope that you were not able to understand even a word from the Old English. But when it came to the Victorian era, it is again a bit, you can understand English here and there. You can, when it came to the novels of Jane Austen, you can understand it, but then again she makes use of a whole lot of adjectives in her novels, like words like enigmatic and all sorts of adjectives and content words. Her novels are filled with content words. So in the clip that you heard, if you ever heard, you can hear a whole lot of content words which are there. Now moving on to the English that exists now. Hey, what's up? Now if someone is in love with another person, he or she might say, hey, what's up? That's the first line and nothing else. You won't be uttering a whole lot of monologues or long monologues or sighs or anything. You would just send a casual message and that's it. There is no emotion, nothing involved. Now it has gone to the extent of overusing emojis to express emotions. So that is the modern usage. So if you're just analyzing the short messages and the emojis that are in existence and learning about them, then that is a synchronic approach to linguistics, language as it exists now. But if you are comparing it with the Old English, that of Chaucer, and the English that existed during Jane Austen's period, then you are doing a diachronic study of language. I hope that it is clear. Now moving on to the next branch of linguistics, which is comparative linguistics. In comparative linguistics, we study the similarities and differences between language. Again, I've used a very funny slide for it. Not funny, but a very serious slide for it. Now, this is that particular slide. This is of Ramayana. Okay, see it here. This is so why have I have shown two pictures? One is that of Ramayana and the other is that of two dudes participating in some kind of a protest. The thing is that we are discussing comparative linguistics, right? So what is comparative linguistics? Comparative linguistics is the study of similarity and differences between languages, between two languages. If there exists a similarity and a difference, then if you are analyzing the similarity and difference between two languages, then that is comparative linguistics. See, in this picture, you have two different time periods. Don't take Ramayana as the serial for that matter, but consider about the word Bradha in Sanskrit. The word Bradha in Sanskrit, or Bhratra in Sanskrit, meant brother, right? When you learned Indo-European family of languages, you might have learned about it too. So the word Bhratra or Bhratra means brother in Sanskrit. In the old Ramayanas that they telecast nowadays, you can hear this Bhrata ennu vilikkunnathu kekka. So Bhrata means brother. So it is from that Bhrata that the modern form brother came into being, and that later got shortened and became bro. So from Brada it became bro. So when you are learning when you are comparing two languages, then that is comparative linguistics. Two different languages and the formation of words. Comparative linguistics is often used to denote the word formation, how words came into being, or what is the parent language, what was the original language. That is, in the beginning there was word, Bible says, but was it common to all the inhabitants of on earth? Was the language common to all inhabitants of earth? Because you can see examples like this. You have matra in Sanskrit, and you have mother, and madre is there in I think in French, I'm not sure. Madre and padre is there. You have pitra in Sanskrit, padre I think in French, or I'm not sure whether it is Italian or French or any language, I'm not sure. But then you have father, but father is not close to pitra as mother is close to matra. So it shows that there is a common link or a common language family from which all these later languages evolved. So if you're comparing two languages likewise and how it came into being, then that is called a comparative linguistics. Now moving on to applied linguistics. In applied linguistics is an interdisciplinary field which offers solution for language related problems in real life. In real life, you use language in many ways, right? Nowadays, the misuse of language is more than the use of language. People tend to misuse language a lot. The trolls, they misuse language. People who are in power, they tend to misuse language. So it offers solution to language related problems. So language always creates power too. For example, in sociolinguistics, we saw that people belonging to the upper class always spoke in a much refined variety of language, refined variety of English. In Malayalam, the people, the owned gentry, Jenmimarake, land-owned gentry, they used to speak in a very refined variety of Malayalam, which was different from the language which was spoken by the Adiyar. അടിയാറുകൾ സംസാരിച്ചിരുന്ന ലാംഗ്വേജിൽ നിന്നും ഡിഫറെൻ്റ് ആയിരുന്നു ഇവരുടെ ലാംഗ്വേജ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. അതിനെ അവർ റിഫൈൻഡ് വെറൈറ്റി ആയിട്ട് കൺസിഡർ ചെയ്തു. പക്ഷേ ഇന്നും ആദിമ ഭാഷയായിട്ട് നമ്മൾ കാണുന്ന ഭാഷകളുടെ ഉറവിടം എന്ന് പറയുന്ന അത് നമ്മുടെ ആദിവാസി ഭാഷകളിലൊക്കെ നമുക്ക് കാണാൻ പറ്റുന്നത് ഒരു വെറൈറ്റി ഉണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ ഓരോ ഭാഷയ്ക്കും അതിൻ്റേതായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു തനതായ ഒരു രൂപമുണ്ട്. അതിൽ നിന്ന് മാറാൻ പാടില്ല. പക്ഷേ we are in applied linguistics, we offer solution to language related problems in real life. So always these are the power play is shown by language. Language power play show ചെയ്യുന്നതാണ്. Greater, the person belonging to an upper class would always speak a refined variety of a language than a person belonging to a lower class. So in applied linguistics, you come across critical discourse analysis. ഇതൊക്കെ ഒരു റിസർച്ച് ലെവലിലുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളാണ്. Critical discourse analysis means you are analyzing the discourse or the conversation between people, critically evaluating the conversations, critically evaluating ads. So when fairness, the word is used in Fair and Lovely or creams, then that holds a greater contention. What is fair? What do you mean by tan skin ഉണ്ടായാലും it is okay? What do you mean by fairness? Does the color of a person's body define him or her? So that question is always there. So whenever we use or misuse language, we can use applied linguistics to analyze those misuses in language, how language can sometimes become gendered. That is always there. Even in Malayalam, that is there. നമ്മുടെ ലാംഗ്വേജും ഒരുപാട് ജെൻഡേർഡ് ആണ്. For example, we have 3 varieties. Like in English, there is only he, she, you, etc. മലയാളത്തിൽ യു എന്ന് നമ്മൾ പറയില്ല. നീ, നിങ്ങൾ, ഞങ്ങൾ എന്നൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ പറയുന്നത്. നീ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മുടെ ഫ്രണ്ടിനെയൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ നീ എന്ന് വിളിക്കും. നിങ്ങൾ എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോഴത്തേക്കും അതിൻ്റെ കുറച്ചും കൂടെ ലെവൽ കൂടുന്നതാണ് നിങ്ങൾ എന്ന് നമ്മൾ അഭിസംബോധന ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അതേസമയം താങ്കൾ എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോഴത്തേക്കും റെസ്പെക്റ്റബിലിറ്റി ഒരുപാടങ്ങ് കൂടി. സോ ഇതാണ് ക്രിട്ടിക്കൽ ഡിസ്കോഴ്സ് അനാലിസിസിൽ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ഇൻ ഹിന്ദി ടു ദിസ് ഇസ് ദെയർ. തു, തും, ആപ്. Tu has no respect at all. Tum has some amount of respect. Aap has greater amounts of respect. So power play is also there in language. Language can be used to create power. So it will create some tensions. So in order to solve those language related problems, we apply linguistics and try to solve those problems. Try to neutralize language as possible. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ജെൻഡർ സെൻസിറ്റീവ് അഡ്വർടൈസ്മെൻറ്റ്സ് വേണമെന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. അതായത് ജെൻഡേർഡ് ലാംഗ്വേജ്, ജെൻഡേർഡ് സ്പീച്ച് ഒന്നും യൂസ് ചെയ്യാൻ പാടില്ല. വുമൺ റിലേറ്റഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള അഡ്വർടൈസ്മെൻറ്റ്സിൽ ഒരുപാട് ഒരുപാട് ഷൈ ആയിട്ടുള്ള വേർഡ്സാണ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഹോം റിലേറ്റഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള, ക്ലീനിങ് റിലേറ്റഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളാണ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് ദാൻ കമ്പയർഡ് ടു മെൻസ് അഡ്വർടൈസ്മെൻറ്റ്സ്, വിച്ച് ഇസ് ബയസ്ഡ്. So in a biased, gender insensitive environment, if a child grows up watching all these, he will get an image that men are always macho, has a machismo or macho, and women are always submissive. That creates a whole lot of problems. In order to solve that, we use applied linguistics. Then forensic linguistics is a branch that actually comes under applied linguistics. It is used by experts in criminal law during crime investigation and trials. ക്രൈം ഇൻവെസ്റ്റിഗേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോഴോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ട്രയലിൻ്റെ ടൈമിനോ ഈ ഒരു ഫോറൻസിക് ലിംഗ്വിസ്റ്റിക്സ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യും. Forensic linguistics is the application of linguistic knowledge in the forensic context of law, crime investigation, trial and criminal procedure. അതായത് ഒരാളുടെ the way in which he speaks, for example, even the body language would give out if he is a criminal or not. A person who never makes an eye contact is hiding something from you. A person who when speaking with you, if a person makes too many pauses, then that means that he is tensed. Or if he is blabbering around, then that shows that he is very much tensed, or that he is inebriated എന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ എന്തോ കഴിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടായിരിക്കാം. അങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ പറ്റും. ഒരു ക്രിമിനൽ ലോയറിന് ഒരാളുടെ സ്പീച്ച് പാറ്റേൺസ് വെച്ചിട്ട് അയാൾ ക്രൈം കമ്മിറ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടോ ഇല്ലയോ എന്ന് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ പറ്റും. അതിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ് നമ്മൾ ഫോറൻസിക് ലിംഗ്വിസ്റ്റിക്സ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. So I have also included a picture for forensic linguistics as well. See the picture of this man. He is not maintaining an eye contact. From the non-verbal cues itself, you can say that this man is tensed. He is hiding something. He is not maintaining an eye contact. His lips are curved, which shows that he is about to lie or that he has been caught in lying. So this can be used by forensic investigators. And the language, that if you are making too much interruptions in between, or you are saying something in a very incoherent manner or in a very fast manner, then that shows that you are hiding something. So it is used by criminal investigators in solving problems. So they may seek the help of forensic linguist. So with that, we come to the end of this lecture. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.